We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route and how fast. Almost all the world's constitutions are documents in which governments tell the people what their privileges are.
Hey everyone, welcome once again to yet another episode of Two Noobs Talking. It is episode 73. With me, of course, to my left is John, Tracy, and to my right is Steve Murray. Gents, how you guys both doing?
We're looking at each other right now.
Awkwardly. Just really weird. What's happening? I'm Matt Craig, of course, happy to be along for the ride. Gents, 73. Fortunately, who wore it in the city of Philadelphia? Nobody on the Flyers, nobody on the Sixers, nobody on the Phillies, but we did have Eagles, and we had a ton of them. Most recently, Isaac Seumalo wore it, Super Bowl champion. That's a really good sign. Derek Burgess surprisingly wore it for one game. I don't know why, but that was weird.
I think it's because he came back to the team.
I think he did. Yeah.
It was the day of negotiation I'll give you a case of beer for my number back.
And it obviously failed.
The linebacker was probably wearing it at that time.
Yeah, it probably failed.
He had to negotiate.
Yeah. Sean Andrews, of course, that was peak Andy Reid. And he was a really good guard for years. I think, remember there was like a famous diet that he was on, right, Johnny? I think.
Oh yeah, because the NCAA fucking sucks, and they don't give you food when you play for the NCAA. So he had to live off of double stacks from Wendy's because he had no money. But he was literally full ride. It was Arkansas. I think it was.
I believe so. Yeah, I think it was Arkansas. Yeah, you're right.
He was a full ride at Arkansas, and he told the story in the Philadelphia media, which I don't know why the Philadelphia media didn't run roughshod on this.
Oh my god!
He was like, "Yeah, I literally was poor. I had a full ride scholarship, and I had no money, like to eat. So I ate at Wendy's. That's why he ballooned up to like 370 something.
Nice.
I think like right after they drafted him, he came in. He was like grossly overweight.
Yeah.
But he can still run.
Yeah, it's amazing. And he was one of the better guards. He was a multiple-time Pro Bowl.
When they started feeding him right and getting him on the right program, which Andy was great at.
Great at doing, absolutely.
Andy is amazing at an organization kind of thing. And they would, I remember stories back then, watching Sean Andrews, he would tell stories about how they had the shakes that were perfectly matched for their metabolisms in the morning practice. And then their lunches were set out. Like they didn't have to think back then when Andy was in charge because he had it all figured out.
It's amazing. Yeah. Everything from the diet and everything. Yeah, it was just great. That's what makes him such a great coach. Then, of course, we had Ron Heller, who I remember like in the late 80s, early 90s. And he was originally right tackle. Then they made the mistake of moving him over. You know what? You're really good enough to be our left tackle. And that really wasn't all that good.
Because they're not different positions.
You got a habit of just turning and it was just terrible. And then we had to throw this in because Steve loves these really funny names, right? Alf Bowman in 1947 wore number 73 for the Eagles. So
was that a championship year?
No.
That was
we looked
really close though.
They lost.
It was getting close
in the game, I think.
Yeah.
I think.
Yes, they were in the game against the Chicago Cardinals
Alf
back then.
didn't step it up. That's the story I'm telling. Alf didn't step it up.
Now, speaking of numbers, Matt, I've been crunching some.
Go for it.
Because you asked the question last week if we could advertise during the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
On a budget of 10 cents.
Okay.
That's all we got.
Because that's all we got. So I ran the figures. So $7 million for a 30-second ad. That works out, by the way, to $233,333.33 per second of your ad. So what 10 cents will get us, according to my calculations, is 0.4 microseconds of airtime, which is a decimal point with 6 zeros in front of the 4.
Perfect subliminal messaging. Love it.
So we'll flash your dick rocket. But nobody will see it.
That's right.
Right. Well, to give you some perspective on how short a time frame that is, The average time period, according to the internet, for a human blink is 0.4 seconds.
Yep.
Wow.
So our ad would be 1 million times faster than a human blink.
I'm going to see right now if I can't fit the dick rocket in right now. If you see it, comment down below.
Exactly.
A bee flaps its wings. I don't actually, John, I don't think your software is able to handle a 0.4 microsecond frame.
It's possible.
A bee takes around 3 milliseconds to flap its wing.
Wow.
So our ad will be 10,000 times faster than a bee wing.
Bee wing.
Nice.
That's crazy.
And then finally, for the speed of sound in air, in the amount of time our commercial would be, a sound wave will have traveled 0.136 millimeters.
Nice.
So about
Interesting. Just a little bit, yeah. So maybe the subliminal messaging might be a little bit hard to pull off, but still.
I'm not even sure that that's long enough to give you a subliminal message.
Exactly.
Frankly.
Blink and you miss it moment. That's right.
So what Steve's trying to say is, we'll put our Cash App up there. If you put us to at least $1, you can see something.
Well, I think we also have to work with our IT department to make sure that the QRL code doesn't crash, right, Johnny? I mean, that's really
Over and over again.
Over and over again.
And you're gonna have to put something up there that says, put something up there that says, please scan me, because otherwise I'm not going to scan it.
Exactly.
Please, Steve, scan me.
Yeah, please help me. So, gents, here we go. Topic 1. It's on everybody's mind. But first, this is, I guess you could say this is our foreign policy, quote unquote, segment of the week. And we're not political scientists. We're not, foreign policy experts or anything of that sort. But obviously, you got Canada, and then of course we're going to touch on the Ukraine real quick. But Canada, of course,
Canada's on everybody's mind now. But.
Oh yeah, exactly. Just you talk about a blink and you miss a moment. But Canada, I mean, really, the Emergencies Act now been revoked from that. Unfortunately, I think now we're not going to be talking about them all so much. The trucker convoy seems to be dispersing out more and more. I think, right, John, at this point. So.
Yeah, it's getting there.
Yeah.
Most of the provinces, not all of the provinces, but most of the provinces have heeded to kind of what the truck drivers wanted, and they're not, staying for any other reason but that with the peaceful protests. So, that's wrapping up, but you can't get any coverage on that because what the CNN and Fox war,
and
like
boy,
missiles.
do we have one.
So they went right away from that.
Yeah, it's amazing how quickly. Everything from the coronavirus to what was going on in Canada, all of a sudden just bam, right out of our nation's radar, zeroing in on Ukraine, in Europe, with Russia, with Vladimir Putin basically losing his cotton-picking mind, trying to denazify Ukraine, whatever that means. Stuck in the 1980s, he's just so far gone and lost. But really, the Ukraine, there is some really good positive developments. We were talking about this right before we went on air, really. I shared with the guys. I'm, of course, the son of a family member who served in the National Guard, Pennsylvania National Guard, and who we've had on this podcast before, my father Wes. He has a friend of his that also served in the National Guard, Major General John Gronsky, who lived in Europe and who has contacts through Poland, through Ukraine. He sent out a very quick email talking about how the Ukrainian people are all rallying behind their president. Everything from, Vladimir Klitschko, the heavyweight boxer, is there defending Kiev.
He's the mayor of Kiev, isn't he?
He's the mayor of Kiev. Just stop and think about that. This boxer is the mayor of Kiev, and he's like, I'm not going anywhere. I mean, that's just...
His quote was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I don't have a choice.
I mean,
That's how he wasn't boastful about it. He literally looked at the reporter right in the eye and he was like, I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
This is my life right now.
This is my life right now. Gronsky's email, which I'm going to quote here, quote, many leaders in President Zelensky's government, that's the Ukrainian president, appear separately from the president and provide similar do not panic messages to its people. that may also be so that even if the president does not survive, the government will. So they're not going anywhere. They are absolutely not going anywhere. Basically, on day one, when the Russian troops entered into Ukraine, a lot of the soldiers were automatically surrendering to the Ukrainians, saying, this was just an exercise. I'm not here to fight you at all. So that was on day one. You didn't hear that in the media at all.
That was a ton of that was going on.
That was a ton of, everybody was talking about the bombing raids in Kiev and, in Odessa. And for some reason, the Russians wanted to go into Chernobyl, which was like, I asked my father that. I was like, why would they go there? And he was just like, well, it was a strategic point to basically spread out that way. And I'm like, how would you like to get the order? You got to go take Chernobyl, which by the way is in a dome. Which
what I saw was they wanted that because it was an easier path to Kiev from there.
Exactly. It was the exact reason. And Russian soldiers they're not asking questions when they're ordered. It's just the way, that's a true dictator. He's telling them where to go.
Yeah. Go through the radioactive wastelands to do my bidding. Yeah, that's.
But
that sounds like fun. Let's all go. Where's my hazmat suit?
It definitely puts some things in perspective when you're living in a free world. It seems ridiculous to us, but it's their life. And so what's the general going to be like? No, I'm going around.
He's
not going to be general anymore. He might not even be alive anymore.
Now it's, I think, very easy for us being here in the West. Obviously, we're protected by both oceans. We got the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. We have great relations with Canada. Well, knock on wood, but also in Mexico, where we're surrounded by good people around us.
Yes.
But to think overseas, it's like there's a lot going on, obviously in Europe, and so many different things. And the fact too that the NATO, an alliance, basically North Atlantic Treaty Organization, formed after World War II, they have really stepped up, including Germany. Germany is sending at this very moment over 1,000 anti-tank missiles to the Ukrainian government for its own defense. Even though the Ukraine is not a part of NATO, Germany has basically stepped up and said, we are going to help defend you at this point, because they do fear a Russian invasion into Europe. And so they're activating this and all that kind of stuff. Finland.
Whether they're part of NATO or not, it's the right thing to do.
It's the right thing to do. Exactly right.
This is how you learn from history.
Yes.
This is how you learn from history, because what happened when Hitler made moves?
Mm-hmm.
He got a ton of ground really quickly.
Yeah.
You're seeing people learning from history, making smart military, not going to war, but making smart military moves. This is why we preach all the time. You got to keep history around. You can't let history go because you learn from it.
Absolutely.
You make better moves.
Yeah.
And Germany's making a really solid statement.
It's a huge
that they're not going to be messed with. You're not going to do this.
Yeah.
You could try, but you're not going to do it. And that's the general feeling I have about this Ukraine invasion. Is it's a twofold.
Yeah.
It's a misstep by Putin because he thinks that the West is weak, because he always focuses on the West. He's not worried about the people around him.
Yeah.
He thinks he can crush them at any moment.
Yeah.
He's more worried about the political climate in the West.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He saw our president, was like, dude, can't do anything. But what happened is he forgot to account for everybody around him.
Exactly.
So he made a misstep.
That's a great point.
What most dictators do, if you look in history, most dictators, when they're focused on one thing, they're not looking at, but Hitler did not realize the United States was going to come in and throw some whoop ass down on him.
Oh, yeah.
They were focused on strategically moving. They never thought that. I mean, there was rumblings, but there was never a thought. Once we entered the war, that's when shit got real.
Oh yeah, no question.
You're seeing that now with everybody around Russia. They're like, wait a minute, bro. This is uncalculated.
This is a great example. That's such a great point you just made, actually, John, because really Afghanistan, that's why Afghanistan's withdrawal was so incredibly devastating. Goes back to what we were talking about in the summer when that happened. Because literally, when that happened, you don't think Putin was taking notes? He was definitely taking notes of what was.
Oh, absolutely.
And it was like, oh, okay, I could just roll right in because no one's going to stop me rolling in to take over this country because I have to denazify it. I have to make sure that, all of this, this Western influence gets out of this area because I have to I could broaden my horizon now. And the Ukrainian government, to their credit, the people that are there, they're fighting right now, and the Ukrainian government are going to this guy and saying, screw you. We are putting up a fight for our own country. We don't like you. We know what it was like under communist regimes back in the 90s. We ain't having it. We ain't having it. So
it has a heavy feel to when Russia invaded Afghanistan.
Big time.
It has a heavy feel to that.
Mm-hmm.
That Afghan didn't want them there. And they made sure that they weren't there.
Yeah. They don't have, and that's the thing, they don't have the manpower. That even if they were to roll over the Ukraine, even if they were to roll over and take over Ukraine, they don't have the manpower to basically have it running. So all the chess pieces that are in place right now, it's almost as if like Putin is like checkmating himself, and he doesn't even know that he's checkmating himself. He's just putting his pawns out in front, and his queen is left, and his king is left exposed, and he has no other alternative pieces going on right now because everybody's making their own chess moves. And they're countering everything that he's trying to do, and everything that he's doing is bumbling. Everything that he's touching is bumbling. And
I think he overestimates his power.
Mm-hmm.
Big time.
I think his thought was, I'm just going to pour a bunch of troops into this and just going to overrun them.
Yeah.
But what he didn't account for was, one, how Ukraine would fight back.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll go off on a tangent on that in a second. But I also wonder how many of his own troops believe in the cause.
I don't think.
I mean, frankly, I'm really not sure why he's doing this.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody knows. And the reports are coming in that even his inner circle is like,
yep.
What is going on?
What are we doing? Yeah.
I mean, you could theorize all kinds of things. He wants to reform the Soviet Union. He wants natural resources.
But
what is he doing?
What's he doing?
Either of them aren't the way he's moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, Steve, I 100% believe he saw a weak Biden and was like, "This is my only shot. Like this is my only shot to make
do what?
To make some kind of statement that I'm a superpower." I literally think that's what it, and it was a crapshoot because he's really not a superpower. I mean, most people do rely on Russian energy. Well, so I mean, there are things.
And also, another aspect to this too is the fact that he is insanely jealous of the West. When your entire country's GDP equals the entire state of Florida, and there are 49 other states in the union.
Yeah,
that is, and you're a mad idiot. That drives him crazy. That drives him nuts. And so when you add all of these things together, it's literally like to your point, Steve. What is he doing?
It's not a logical.
Why would you try to provoke something that isn't going your direction? Unless you think that you could try and figure out, oh, well, yeah, our training exercise actually worked. We did, because that is going to come out. I'm convinced of it in the next couple of days.
Oh, absolutely.
You're going to start to see an agreement come into place where, okay, yeah, we're going to eventually pull out. And yet it's going to be a crushing defeat for him. It is an absolute crushing defeat.
Oh, it's going to be a huge defeat.
Won't.
Absolutely.
He won't frame it that way. He will try.
He will not frame it that way. Exactly.
And to be honest with you, I don't think the Ukraine will give him that out as long as they get out.
Yeah.
And and technically that's the right thing to do.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, egg on your face, bro. Sorry, like, knock you out in the first round, but you can walk out peacefully. It's all good, dude. I won't say a word.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it's huge. It's a huge moment. Steve, I think you said you wanted to have like a quick tangent on the Ukrainian people fighting, I think?
Specifically President, what's his name?
Zelensky. Yeah.
Zelensky.
Mm-hmm.
Former comedian turned president.
Hey, I don't care what what your prior profession was.
Right? I love that he loves his country that much.
Yeah.
That he had a lucrative career.
Yeah.
He put that on hold.
Oh yeah.
To go be a president when his country needed one. I have nothing but admiration for him.
Yeah, but I mean, more specifically, to be putting out these videos where he's like, "Hey, let's go, come on, let's go fight," and he's leading from the front instead of the back.
Absolutely, and that's
he's
what we need.
freaking he's, when the aliens are invading Earth and your president says, give me a freaking fighter jet, I'm going to go out and beat these guys. That's somebody you want leading your country.
Hell yeah.
No,
That's right. No, but you're right.
Oh, by the way, just for everybody, just before we came on here, there was a great Fox News article about the Molotov cocktails that are made in the city of Kiev. There are a ton of people literally just making Molotov cocktails, citizens, and just stacking them behind in case we need them.
And that's all they're doing. That's all they're doing.
But they're caring about their country.
To your point, Steve, this is huge. President Zelensky sets the tone. This is again from John Kronsky's email to my father. President Zelensky sets the tone, and mayors and governors throughout the nation address their publics in similar tones. Many tour battlefields on video soon after combat is over and reassure nearby civilians that all is okay.
Yep.
You don't think that has an effect? That has a drastic effect on country morale, if anything, and says, hey, look, we are in the fight. We are going to prevail in this. I mean, everything that Putin thought was going to happen, wherever he was just going to roll right on over. And this is, and again, I go back to Afghanistan. This is why it was so incredibly naive and dumb of the president to pull out of that entire country. Because really, the president was essentially set. The Taliban had to go by X, Y, Z, A, B, C, and if they did not meet all that criteria, we weren't going anywhere. The problem was Biden came in, saw September 11th, and said, I'm going to pull out on this date, announces it 2 weeks prior to that, and the shit hit the fan, essentially.
And
Putin looks at that and goes, well, I guess I could just roll right into my neighboring country, and the same thing's going to happen. Well, to each his own, really.
I mean, his calculation was that if they're going to pull out of there, they're not going to go to war with me. Yeah. And
I
don't know if that's true, but that was his calculation.
Yeah. It was a horrible miscalculation.
But like I was saying to you guys in pre-production, my biggest fear is we've got other dictators in this world. I worry about Taiwan. I worry that things are going to. We understand that Ukraine can handle their business, and hope and pray for the people. Not that we know that Ukraine has some criminals in there. I hope they don't get out alive. But I hope all the good, nice people of Ukraine, the real people, survive. And pray for them every day. But I'm concerned about the rest of the world because there's other places that are just as close, and it's a bad look. That's why if Putin gets defeated quickly, hopefully that will stop this.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just don't know.
To your point, John, China is, they're looking at this really, really closely.
Yeah.
And, they're looking at Taiwan, because they basically rolled over Hong Kong. The British gave them back and said, well, okay.
Quickly.
You're going to promise, right? And, China's like, yeah, no problem. And look what happened to Hong Kong. That is essentially not a Western city anymore. That is now part of the Chinese Communist Party. Yeah. So they're looking at Taiwan. They've always wanted Taiwan. And they're looking at this and seeing, well, okay, if Putin succeeds here, we can roll into Taiwan. Now, fortunately, and I think this is going to, I do make this prediction, I do believe that the Ukrainian people will are rising up and are stopping this, and that the war will come to an end very quickly. And essentially, like, the question then is on the Chinese. The spotlight immediately goes to them, and they had a horrible Winter Olympics. I don't care what people are saying. You can make a comment down below. That was a disaster of a Winter Olympics that I don't think the likes of which we haven't seen in at least 40 years.
I didn't watch 1 second of it.
I didn't watch 1 second of it either. It was horrible. It was absolutely horrible.
All I got was negative feedback from it.
Yeah, it was awful. And it's like, then the spotlight focuses on them, and they are not. With the world being focused on them, they're not going anywhere. I guarantee you that. It would be idiotic for the Chinese to then try and take Taiwan after Putin essentially will stalemate, quote unquote.
I worry about that, though. I worry.
Yeah. Oh, it is a worry, no question.
I think more importantly is the unified response of the rest of the world, which I think they may not be putting troops on the ground in Ukraine, but
Yes.
they're taking some pretty drastic. I mean, EU has closed airspace to Russian planes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which
Massive.
is massive.
Massive.
And I think if we can show that pretty much the rest of the world will isolate you when you do these sorts of land grabs of autonomous, of course, Russia doesn't consider Ukraine to be independent and autonomous, and China doesn't either. I mean, they get upset when you suggest that Taiwan is not is an independent country.
Oh God, how many people had to apologize?
Oh God, yeah.
Well, and think about
over
it,
the
like
course
the
of the
upcoming.
last year of just saying that they were people, and they were like, "Wait a minute, we
Well,
own
China's
you. We own your business. Like you
Right.
can't." You
But
can't do this.
if the response is you try to do something like this and you are going to be isolated financially, physically, all that kind of stuff, I think China is the guy in China. I think is smarter, at least at this point, than Putin is.
I would agree. I would agree.
We have the benefit. We have the benefit that China benefits tremendously from our patronage of things coming out of their country. Russia doesn't have that luxury.
Exactly.
It's a very energy. Russia's very energy. China's very mass production of pretty much everything everybody's wearing at this moment that we're talking.
Yeah.
Or hanging up or something. They have a huge influence in the West.
No question. No question. From a material standpoint, yeah.
From
Exactly.
materials, absolutely. Well, even in China's the number 3rd taught language in American schools.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? That's nuts.
It's crazy.
I was also going to make a mention too before we move on. The upcoming Top Gun movie. Back in the 80s, there was a Taiwan flag on the back of Tom Cruise's jacket.
Mm-hmm.
The upcoming one, there isn't one.
Of course.
And it's like, well,
that makes sense.
Makes sense.
Surprise.
It makes total sense.
I mean, it's like, and we also saw this in the NBA too, with like, Daryl Morey. You fight for, I think it was Taiwan or Hong Kong, and he got excoriated. It's like, dude,
Yeah,
come on.
I think there were protests in Hong Kong at the time.
Yeah.
And
So, I mean, pray for Ukraine. That's probably our biggest message here on Two Noobs, right? Pray for them. Make sure that, and really that the end of the conflict happens very, very quickly. I think it will. I have no doubt it will.
I'm not too concerned about Ukraine surviving at all.
They have people that have really stood up and risen, and I mean, give credit to the Ukrainian people and the country's leadership that they're basically fighting for their sovereignty, and I mean that is a great thing to see in this world right now.
He shall henceforth be known as President Whitmore.
Exactly, he is the modern day Whitmore. That's exactly right. He is.
And one last thing, fuck Donald Trump.
On that note, gents, let's move on to topic 2. This is very, very interesting. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
Whoa. There's supposed to be a ha in there. Come on.
Sorry about that. Ha.
I was way closer to the microphone.
I was just sorry about that. But most Americans live in places where healthy people can stop wearing masks now, according to new CDC guidelines.
Really?
Wow. We've been through this before, We
appreciate your concern, CDC.
Yeah. More than 70% of Americans should be able, this is according to 6abc.com, and Washington, D.C., more than 70% of Americans should be able to remove their masks indoors, including inside schools, under new metrics outlined Friday by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Ha!
And what basis do they now have for these new metrics that we couldn't have had?
Well,
I think it was the article that came out that said the CDC was holding data away because of vaccine hesitancy. Because they popped at the same time. I'm just saying.
I don't know what you're talking about, John. I don't know.
But
is that as
stories pop at the same time? Cause and effect, maybe.
I mean, possibly.
Is that as coincidental as James Harden's Sixers debut, and immediately after Ben Simmons has a back problem?
I don't know. It could be.
Oh, don't worry about it. Brooklyn won the deal, Steve. Brooklyn won the
Oh, yeah.
Don't worry about that. You know?
I'm just saying. I mean, one article runs out, the other. I mean, right. But I mean, it couldn't catch up fast enough to jump in front of it.
It's just unbelievable.
It was 2 newspapers literally running, and that masked newspaper hurdled him at that last moment. It was like, look at me.
It's just unbelievable. And then, of course, like we have Rochelle Walensky, who said this, John, and I'm going to get your immediate reaction to this. Quote, none of us know what the future holds for us and for this virus, and we need to be prepared, and we need to be ready for whatever comes next. We want to give people a break from things like mask wearing when our levels are low, and then have the ability to reach for them again if things get worse in the future. End quote. John, your immediate reaction.
Fuck you.
This is the NC-17 version.
Literally, that's my response to it. Fuck you, COVID's over. I am not doing anything for COVID. I'm not even thinking about COVID anymore.
Yeah.
It's over. It's in the trash can. It's over.
Yeah.
End the pandemic. It's over. When you say shit like that, oh, we're gonna give you a break when it's on the. You're an asshole. You don't even understand science at this point.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, really, the Omicron variant, guys, if you really stop to think about it, it really was I guess you could say, and a blessing in disguise, a natural vaccine that came and went extremely quickly.
It was the coolest thing. If you like science, it was the coolest thing ever. They thought it was going to go one way.
Just the opposite.
Actually, it was the Delta backwards, because we didn't think the Delta was going to do what it did, and it went this way. And it was a scary time. But when Omicron came in, it did exactly the opposite, and it was beautiful because it ended it. Because you can't even argue natural immunity now, because from what the CDC is saying, everybody already got it.
Yeah. And and think about this too. Like, if you have multiple different variants, the natural body, a natural healthy body, not talking comorbidities, but the natural healthy body is going to build up an immune system. Doesn't that sound familiar? You build up the immunity, and you have 4 different sets of variants. I don't think we need to do any additional steps.
There's nothing needs to be done at this point.
With mask wearing. Especially when there's been studies that have come out that have said that it's been less to little effect in terms of preventing death from happening. You know, it doesn't protect you, give you an extra layer of protection.
Just so I'm clear, you should social distance. Do not breathe down someone's neck.
No, of course not.
It is not necessary to stand that close to people in line.
Exactly.
That's the one thing for the pandemic. I want to stay forever. I want those footsteps.
Yeah,
I completely agree.
Stay the fuck away from me, because I don't want the common cold. I don't want the flu. I don't want COVID. I don't want any of that shit. Stay over there. We can keep that. But
even
we don't
absent the disease.
Yeah.
Absent the disease, I don't want people standing that close to me to begin with. Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't
like 3 feet.
Generally.
Yeah. Give me 3 feet and I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Pandemic,
non-pandemic. Get the fuck away from me.
Was this the same article that basically now says any future mask wearing will be tied more to hospitalizations than caseloads?
Yeah.
Which is also, thank God.
Which it should have been in the beginning.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because caseloads, I'm not going to say I'm right, but I am going to say I'm right. I've been saying this fucking caseload thing for a year.
Yeah.
Can't count cases and make decisions. It's dumb.
It is.
It really is. If you really think of it, it's dumb.
This goes back to everything that comes back to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Because they have neither controlled nor prevented this disease from happening. They have bundled and bungled and bumbled their way through this entire pandemic. It's a joke, really, of the administrative state to say, we have to make sure that no 1918 pandemic ever happens again. Well, guess what? We were very fortunate in this regard that the Omicron variant happened, where we had a huge spike in 1 month and it came back down, and we almost needed to have one to be perfectly honest, we needed to have a huge spike and be done.
For natural immunity, you needed a least lethal spike in the disease for us to get out of a pandemic. That's the only way it happens.
And
there's no other mathematical equation. Like, you literally need a huge spike. Everybody needs to get infected. I'm not saying everybody, because it's a lot of people, but you get what I mean. Yep. A large amount of people need this virus at a very low dose to get out of it. It's the only way you get out of a pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't need to throw on masks. You don't need to break society down to a point where you're all staying home. You got to go out for only essentials. You have multiple different times where you got to. My favorite one was Gavin Newsom, where you had to basically, in order to eat, you had to pull down the mask, take the bite, put it back on, and chew with your mask on. That's bullshit. There's no scientific evidence to support any of that nonsense.
Gavin Newsom's bullshit.
Yeah.
His existence is bullshit.
Yeah.
Having just been on a plane this past week, that was practically the same thing they explained on the plane.
Wow.
You had to wear a mask immediately upon entering the airport.
Yeah.
You could take it down to eat or drink, but you had to replace it between bites or sips.
Oh my God.
So I sort of, they gave me my bag of pretzels. I just made sure to kind of be constantly in motion between my mouth.
You were eating the way you're supposed to eat and not have a mask on. Because that's the point.
There was one guy, I think I remember seeing this on either it was a Not to Be article or it was something.
Oh, dude.
Or a guy had a Cheeto, his entire mouth was really using as as foam, quote unquote cigarette. So it was acting as if he was, exactly. Where he's nibbling on it the entire time.
There's a dude that did
a
TikTok video my wife sent me a couple months ago that he was eating a sandwich upon he took his mask off to eat a sandwich, and he's eating a sandwich, and as soon as the stewardess comes over, "Sir, you need to put a mask on," he turns around with a microwave and he's got a burrito out of it. He starts eating the burrito, and the stewardess comes back, and the next time he's shaving beef. It was 3 or 4 times. It was such a great satire of what we deal with as humans.
That's just great.
He did it the whole time, and as soon as she was finally she got him, it was the 5th scene, and she's like, "Sir, put your," and all of a sudden it was ding, seatbelts, and he puts his mask on.
That's awesome. I just absolutely love it. But yeah, everything too, to wrap it up real quick, how about the 2 weeks of slow to spread, guys?
Yeah.
I mean, that was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Who would have thought 2 weeks turned into 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Give me a break with that. That's CDC and P, by the way.
My last comment to this, and I severely mean this. If any city or establishment is pushing COVID at this point, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's early laughable. I couldn't agree more. Gents, let's lighten it up a little bit. Let's move on to topic 3 here. Let's talk a little football. And specifically, this was a very interesting article I shared with you guys.
Yes.
I actually came through The Athletic. I don't fully subscribe to it, but I get their weekly mailings.
That's stealing, Matt.
It is, yeah. Well,
I got a way to even steal it better, Matt.
Borrowing. I'm borrowing without permission, with every intention of bringing it back to them. But in any event, Troy Aikman, one of the big commentators in football right now, alongside Joe Buck for, I think it's been 15 years, I think.
Has it been that long? Oh, man.
Oh, my God.
It's been forever.
It's been forever.
When did he retire? When did he retire? Because he played 2000? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. Due to concussions. And so, I think he was with Buck since 2003 or 4 or something like that, because I remember him on a call when Andy Reid was coaching the Eagles. Mm-hmm. There's rumors his contract is going to be up, and there's rumors he might be leaving Fox for ESPN and doing their Monday Night Football telecast. If you ask me, that's a step significantly down, because I think ESPN's crap.
I agree. I tend to agree.
Step down for who?
Yeah. Paycheck's probably better.
Good point. Yeah, the paycheck's pretty good. Yeah.
Mhm.
Guys, what are your
Don't hate
thoughts
him
on this?
for making more money at
This
all.
is this is a huge rumor right now. It's like, and there's potential that Buck might come along with him. So it's like they would leave Fox and do the Monday night telecast on a cable network. I mean, what are your thoughts
If
on
I
that?
get both of them, that is the greatest thing that you could give me, because you could actually give me Monday Night Football with people I would like to listen to.
Mm,
I'm not a
mhm.
big fan of Troy Aikman, but I mean, Joe Buck could announce tennis and I'd be happy. I
Mhm.
love Joe Buck. I'm a big fan of Joe Buck.
Yeah.
He gets it.
But I mean, this is
But
almost
I
like
could give a shit if Troy leaves. I'm more worried about who's going to work with Joe Buck
I mean,
than
the
I
only
am
issue I
Troy.
would have with that, John, is that, the talent pool at Fox is very thin.
Oh
Very
yeah.
thin.
Yeah, I think it's I think it's going to be Slereth, but he is. I've been vocal on Facebook about Slereth throughout the Eagles season. He
Mhm.
is awful.
Yeah.
He is absolutely awful.
Yeah. I mean, we went through the list, and there was, the only like the guy that I could even remember, really that I remember like going back a few years, was like Daryl Johnston, but he's like down to like CD and E level. He
I
hasn't
think,
been brought up to the national scene, and
He used to be like number 2.
he was number
Yeah.
2, yeah, and now all of a sudden it's kind of like,
I actually liked him, so if they go with him, he might work. Can't do Jonathan Vilma because he cusses too much.
now.
Um,
And I don't think that pairing doesn't seem to really
Yeah.
work with Buck.
Vilma talks too slow for
Yeah,
Joe Buck.
yeah.
That Vilma talks really slow. That's why you can catch his cusses on live TV, because
Yeah.
he talks really slow. I like Jonathan Vilma. I have no problem with Jonathan Vilma as a player or a commentator.
Hmm.
I just don't think they would ever escalate him after that debacle this year.
Yeah.
Where it wasn't just one. It just wasn't the Eagles game. It was repeatedly throughout
Throughout
his
the season.
telecast.
Yeah.
He slipped in some words that you shouldn't put out there.
They're on friendly, John.
Because I'd cuss too much. I'm also not getting paid when he gets paid.
Exactly.
I think I could not cuss if you're going to pay me the money he's getting paid.
So let's just think about this, Stephen. I'll ask you first. Aikman leaves.
Yeah.
Who would you want to have alongside Joe Buck if you had to pick one color guy? Could be CBS, could be Fox, could be anybody.
Okay, so if you could pluck them from anywhere.
Anywhere. Yeah.
Oh.
That's hard. Because it's like you got Nance and Romo on CBS, and I don't think you break them up.
No. I mean, I could. As far as having a color guy, I would. Romo's probably the one I would pick.
Yeah.
He's got to be the best of the bunch.
Yeah. I think there's either some guys are good, but they haven't been around long enough.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there'll be some kind of seniority thing going on here. It's tough. There's, I feel like the color guys used to be better 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
I
kind of want someone to come back
not
from heaven
disagree
right
with that
now to
statement
join
at
us.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do not disagree with that statement at all.
Yeah.
It used to be much cleaner.
Yeah. And really, it's like the loss of Madden. You're feeling it right now because you look at the talent pool, and probably one of the guys that I would, like off the top of my head, that was somewhat decent was Trent Green. I think he has a really good sounding voice, and would be a real good, like if you were to place him with Joe Buck, that could work, I think. He's usually paired alongside Greg Gumbel for years on CBS.
If you can work with Gumbel, you can work with Buck.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about two professionals.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Greg Gumbel's really good at what he does, obviously.
I have no issues with Greg Gumbel at all.
No.
I've not the Gumbel
Called a Super Bowl.
is good.
Called a Super Bowl years ago. Yeah.
I guess the wild card for me would be, but I don't know if either of them would really want to do it because I think they have a pretty good gig on Monday nights. Is one of the Mannings.
Yeah.
But I don't know that they'd want to go strict into color commentary from what they're doing now, which is sort of just like off the cuff kind of.
And they're both
Reactions.
They're so good.
Yeah.
They're so. I
They
wish
really
they
are.
were around.
Mm-hmm.
Before I tell you who I want, I wish they were around. Do you remember back in the mid '90s when they tried to do the we're gonna let it play like fans watching the game, and they had like Terry Bradshaw and they tried to do a couple games where it was just like friends watching a game and they were just talking football as they were trying to like interact it.
Yeah.
If they did that, if they just eliminated Joe Buck and they put Manning's doing that during the game, it would probably be highly entertaining.
It would
even be better.
And to get to my point with Schlereth, I think it's Schlereth because I think Buck can work with that. He's raw talent. He repeats himself constantly, but he knows it's fine. He's a bit like Madden. He's like a very small
X and O.
Madden. He says some dumb shit, and then on the flip side, he teaches you about a double pull, how the center and the guard understand where the tackle is, knock down 2 linebackers, and the running back gets 7 yards, and you're like, I didn't expect that from Stink at all. Like, I didn't expect him to explain it that way. So I think all eyes are on him. If so, because I think Buck can work. If Buck can work with Aikman, he can work with anybody.
Yeah.
He had to dumb down Aikman for a long time. Aikman was so talkative when he first started.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He would go on tangents about things that he didn't know anything about.
Yeah.
And Buck kind of reined him into being a good color analyst. I think Buck can work with anybody. I think Stink is the guy he goes with.
You know, it's going to be really interesting, I think, in the next couple of years. There's probably going to be a little bit of a transition, I think, in terms of NFL football commentating. I really do. I think the play-by-play guys are going to change. And I definitely think there's going to be a change in terms of maybe how it's presented. You know, you have more of a reaction type base, like with the Mannings. I think that was an ingenious invention with ESPN. Yeah, it's a trash network, but that was really an ingenious invention.
But they stole it from Fox. So it's just
whatever works, right? Whatever works in the.
I mean, didn't Gates steal Windows from IBM? So it's just how we do things here.
That's right. Yeah. We'll have to talk with Dr. IP on that, but
I'd be all for bringing Dennis Miller back.
There you go.
Thank you for the one human in my life that likes Dennis Miller. I loved him. I stayed up for him.
He was, yeah.
I like most things Dennis Miller does, actually.
You know, if you like watch
Dennis Miller at all.
One of the things I'll never forget about that whole thing was his genuine raw reaction.
Yes.
To like, there was like a Packers-Vikings game, Monday Night Football, and Favre just, he goes back and he just heaves it. And it hits Freeman on the shoulder pad, it hits his helmet, it bounces up in the air, and he catches it like while lying down on the ground. And it's the famous Al Michaels. He did what? And he ends up scoring a touchdown. Wasn't touched. And Miller's raw reaction was the best part of that entire clip. Because he's like, I can't believe what I just saw sitting in front of me. I missed that.
But that's every fan that was watching that.
Yeah. The raw reaction is what we're after. And I think
back to the David Tyree catch.
Yeah.
The David Tyree catch, nobody could believe that he caught it on his helmet. And landed like that's what Madden gave us.
Yeah.
Going back just to kind of bring that back of how stringent we are with our color commentary. Madden always gave us that, so that's what we expect now.
Yeah. In a way, we're spoiled. In a way.
We were definitely our generation was definitely spoiled with football announcing.
Yeah, no question about that. Yeah.
Now this decision, whatever Aikman decides, isn't really going to affect me because I only watch Eagles games anyway.
Me too.
So I don't tune in based on who the announcers
the commentary is. Yeah.
Are the Eagles playing? No, then I'm not watching it.
Me too. But also when I get a 4:00 Eagles game, it's going to make me really happy if it's Joe Buck and someone that is at least listening.
Exactly. So, guys, this is a very special topic number 4. With the Oscars in town, and hopefully I can do this in pre-production or post-production, we have our very own Batman-themed Oscar award show hosted by one Steve Murray. So, Steve, I'm going to let you take it, brother.
Well, here's where we throw Steve into the center. Matt, you are now on the side. Look at that magic flip. Steve, go away with it.
And it's not just because the Oscars are in town, but The Batman.
Oh,
I think it's called The Batman, right?
the
I
Batman.
think so. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it
think
comes
so.
out 2 days after this podcast first airs, March 4th. So
Beautiful.
it's it's interesting. I'm not sure I'll see it in the theater, but I'm sure I will see it. It's interesting, and looking forward to it. But I thought this would be a great time to do a retrospective because we're all huge Batman fans. John's got his Rogues Gallery lined up back there.
Yep.
So
Matt's got his.
well,
Batmobile.
Matt's had the Batmobile there forever. So
Oh yeah, heck yeah.
but
Steve will talk your ear off about Batman for like 17 hours.
hell yeah.
He loved it.
Love it.
Hell yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, we are here we've got 6 categories of Batman films. We're just doing films, not comic books, not TV shows. 6 categories. We've got 5 nominees for each category, and I thought some of these might spur interesting debate, as some of them did in our pre-production.
Oh, absolutely.
And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the category and read off the 5 nominees. Then I'll go to each of you to pick your winner
There you go.
for that category and an explanation as to why. And if it comes to fisticuffs, it comes to fisticuffs.
Absolutely. I'm ready. I'm ready.
That's why I'm in the middle now. I have to separate these.
That's
two.
right.
There may be some hot dispute over some of these.
Should be good.
All right, so like the Oscars do, we're going to progress up to the final Best Picture,
Beautiful.
because that's the one everybody waits for. So we're gonna start with the low man on the totem, which I've kind of captured as the best secondary villain in a Batman film. And so this excludes obviously main villains like, say, the Joker, your typical Riddler, Penguin, Catwoman, all the villains you come to expect when you see Batman on film. This is more kind of, they're there and they serve some purpose to the story, but they're not really the main. But well, in some cases they may be a main focus, but when you have the Joker in the movie, things kind of tend to go that way. All right, so the nominees, and I'm reading these in chronological order, in order from their film.
Okay.
Just so there's no, so number 1 would be the character of Max Schreck, played by Christopher Walken in Batman Returns.
Okay.
Number 2 is the character of the Phantasm, from the Batman animated Mask of the Phantasm, which is highly regarded as one of the best Batman films, despite being animated. That was portrayed by Dana Delaney, although I don't know if she did the Phantasm voice itself. Number 3 is the character of Joe Chill from Batman Begins. I will not read the actor's name because I can't read my own writing. From that same movie, you also have Carmine Falcone, the big mob boss, portrayed by Tom Wilkinson of Rush Hour fame. And then 5th would be the character of Talia al Ghul, portrayed by Marion Cotillard in The Dark Knight Rises. A spoiler alert on that one. Sorry about that. I've not seen The Dark Knight Rises. Turns out she's the mastermind behind the whole thing, not Bane.
Spoiler alert. Anyway.
I'll go to John first on this one. John,
There
what do
you
you
go.
think?
I'm gonna go. There's a couple good ones. I'm gonna go with Max.
Max Schreck.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotta go with
Because
Christopher Walken.
Because when you first brought it up, you had to jog my mind on everyone but him. So upon my research afterwards, I was like, oh, I like that one.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm going.
There you go.
Max Schreck was a good one, and Christopher Walken can make
Yes.
anything.
I mean, he
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, so Matt,
There's
you gonna
nothing I don't
disagree,
like that he's
or
in.
you got somebody else? in mind?
I will disagree. I thought Carmine Falcone would be my pick. Batman Begins. I thought he was absolutely fantastic at the beginning. Mob boss was ruling Gotham, and then all of a sudden gets overtaken by Batman in the middle part of that movie. But the way he was portrayed as the tough guy, when Bruce goes to confront him, you could definitely tell his anger. It's like, who are you? And just brilliant character acting there. So yeah, that would be my pick. That would be my pick on that.
And I agree with him as the character throughout comic books, TV shows.
Yep.
Absolutely great character.
Yep.
Great character.
Yep.
I'm going to side with John on this one, though, just because the Christopher Walken angle, you can't
disagree with that either. Yeah.
I agree with you. I thought he was a really good. That's why he's on the list. Falcone was a good villain.
Yeah.
And you still sort of felt his presence even as the Nolan trilogy moved on. But Christopher Walken is Christopher Walken.
It's just like
you can't really mess
and the interplay of him and Danny DeVito throughout Batman Returns was just fantastic.
Brilliant. Yep. No doubt.
All right, so next category we have Best Alfred.
Ooh.
Once again, the nominees in chronological order. So number 1 is the Alfred portrayed by Alan Napier in the 1966 Adam West Batman film.
Okay.
Which, if you're our age, that's the first that's the first Alfred you ever saw with Batman.
No doubt. No doubt.
That is correct. That is correct. Number 2 would be Michael Gough from the 1989 Batman, and also throughout the whole pre-Nolan
Batman 1 and 2. We're not going to talk about 3 and 4. Forget that.
Yep.
They're not on this list at all. But,
yeah.
Thank God.
Just dust them away.
Number 3 would be Michael Caine from the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy.
Yep.
Number 4 is Jeremy Irons from the Zack Snyder Batman Justice League films. And then number 5 is Ralph Fiennes from the Lego Batman movie.
Ooh, interesting.
So I'm going to start with Matt on this one.
This one was hard. Going back and forth really between Irons and Caine. Irons, I think, had a rougher Alfred for sure, particularly Batman v Superman. But who am I kidding? I mean, Michael Caine was fantastic in the Nolan trilogy. He was the definite father figure. When you look at Alfred, he is Bruce Wayne's father figure. And no one portrayed that better, I think, in my mind, than Michael Caine did. I think that was just, you look at that entire trilogy, how he encourages, and then it's like, kind of getting a little bit down a darkened road here, guides him through, the Dark Knight, and then Dark Knight Rises is like, I'm really afraid of you. Like, I'm afraid of losing you if you continue down this road. It's a brilliant character arc. Michael Caine. He's my winner and my pick.
All right, John.
I'm going, I can't remember his name, but 66 Alfred.
Oh.
For only one reason. He's the only Alfred that I judge all Alfreds on. All Alfreds. Every Alfred gets judged on his performance as Alfred being Batman's right-hand man, not being scared of much.
Yeah.
Giving Batman the tools that Batman needed to become the super hero that he is. That's that I'm sorry, I don't remember his name, but that is definitely
Alan Napier, I believe, is the name.
Alan Napier. Okay, yeah.
Alan
Yeah,
Napier.
I judge every single Alfred on that performance.
That's awesome.
Can't disagree with that. I will, however, go with Matt on Michael Caine. I think his character arc throughout the trilogy was
absolutely. I do not disagree. It's just
Yeah.
I think I do also agree. Jeremy Irons was very good in his portrayal, and I think you're right. You're looking at Batman 20 years in, as opposed to sort of at the beginning. He's sort of like, "What are you doing? You're 40 years old, or however old he is.
Yeah.
Why are we still doing this?
Stop doing this, right?
You've got metahumans to fight these battles. Why are you still doing this?"
Exactly.
That's what makes his character so good.
Yeah.
Right. Jeremy Irons, whatever he does is fantastic. Whether he's in Die Hard with a Vengeance or The Lion King, for God's sake.
Yeah.
He's good at everything.
Yeah. He's amazing.
Yep.
All right. So the next category we have is Best Actress in a Batman film. This one might be a little tough.
It's a tough one.
We've got some really good, although you'll see some similarities to just because of the nature of Batman. So first, again in chronological order, we have Lee Merriweather, who was Catwoman in Batman 66. I can't remember if she's the second or third. There were so many in the Adam
So
West.
There were a bunch of them. Yeah, in the beginning, yes.
Yeah. Kim Basinger from Batman '89 portraying Vicky Vale.
Which was a good one.
Yeah.
Good one.
The intrepid reporter frustrating Alexander Knox at every turn. Number 3, Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman in Batman Returns.
Oh, wow.
Number 4 portrayed Rachel, but it's not Katie Holmes. We're talking Maggie Gyllenhaal in The Dark Knight.
Yes.
Thank you.
We're going to go to Katie Holmes on that one. And then number 5 we have as Catwoman in The Dark Knight Rises was Anne Hathaway. So let's see. I'm going to go John first on this one.
That's a tough one.
It really is.
Because the non-Katie Holmes, you just go Katie Holmes if you're all right.
No, you don't.
She was pretty much an actor throughout her entire youth. Oh, she's in
That's
Batman.
just because John. What was the show she was on?
With Dawson's Creek.
That's
because John used to watch that all the time.
Oh yeah, I used to be late to bowling because me and Bill McNally would watch Dawson's Creek because it was good. Dude, old men used to be mad at us, and we were like, "What's wrong with you?"
Oh my gosh.
Matt just can't get over her crooked mouth, but that's a difference.
Yeah, I mean, she's also weird. I mean,
oh yeah, I mean, she married Tom Cruise for God's sake.
I did exactly. If you marry Tom Cruise, you're weird. You've stamped your weird.
I mean,
card.
she pretty much fell in love with him on Oprah. That pretty much was it. You know, it's just like, oh my God, that's my husband. And
nobody falls in love with Tom Cruise. If you fall in love with Tom Cruise, please go get psychological evaluation right now. He's 3'2". He can't act.
Exactly.
Our apologies to go out to someone who could have been a nominee but was in a bad movie. It was Nicole Kidman. So, John, in the non-Katie Holmes category,
in the I'm gonna go Gyllenhaal because I like all Gyllenhaals. They're good actors, so I'm just going there. I'm just going with the family. They're good. They're good at what they do.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough, Mr. Craig.
Steve, I'm going to go Michelle Pfeiffer. This one was really hard because I love Lee Merriweather in the old Batman '66. And I really liked Anne Hathaway and what she did in Dark Knight Rises. But for me, when I think about it, Michelle Pfeiffer's performance in that movie made that movie. It was utterly remarkable what she ended up doing with that entire character and how she just, you could tell she got kind of crazy and was just an awesome character in that movie, I thought, from start to finish. Love interest of Bruce Wayne, and then all of a sudden they find, oh my gosh, the Bat and the Cat. It was great. I just thought she just did it fantastic. Michelle Pfeiffer, no question. Not my pick.
I'm going to go with Matt again on that one. I thought her portrayal was absolutely fantastic to go from being the meek, shy, afraid to speak secretary to like going off the deep end. And then her internal kind of conflict throughout the whole movie.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, I'm in love with Bruce Wayne, but I can't allow myself to be the damsel to go live in his castle forever. And then to go with Christopher Walken and the taser. When she tasered the clown, by the way, after he had already been knocked out by Batman, that was hysterical. I love that scene. She's like she's looking at it and she. So yeah, I agree, Michelle Pfeiffer, and I think she's the best Catwoman.
It's close.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. She's absolutely the best Catwoman that has ever done it.
Yeah, Lee Merriweather is like right there, so close. But yeah, I go Michelle.
Yeah, no, she did. She was good in that.
Great job.
Batman '66. I agree.
Yep, no doubt.
All right. Well, speaking of best villain ever, I think we all would agree the Joker is absolute best Batman villain, probably the best superhero villain.
No question.
But the question is, what Joker?
That is the question. So we have our 5 nominees, again in chronological order. So we'll go Cesar Romero from Batman '66. He also did it on the TV show.
Yep.
So he was kind of the first. I think there was a Joker in like the '40s Batmans, but I think Romero is widely regarded as kind of the first to really
was the first one.
Yeah, and phenomenal.
Right. Yep. No, I would say all of these guys did a very
job.
But number 2 is Jack
Yeah.
3, Mark Hamill from Mask of the Phantasm. He was also on the animated series.
No doubt.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
4 is the Oscar-winning Heath Ledger.
Mm.
And then 5 is Jared Leto. I'm going to go with the Zack Snyder Justice League cut rather than his Suicide. Actually, Suicide Squad doesn't count.
Yeah.
I should have prefaced this.
True.
In order to qualify for this list, Batman has to be, well, I guess he was in Suicide Squad, actually. Crap.
Cameo.
He did make a cameo.
Was it a cameo appearance? Yeah.
It was a cameo appearance.
It wasn't really a Batman movie.
It's an AB. It's an AB. We consider the 2 Jared Leto's AB.
1A. Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, his portrayal in the Snyder Cut was better than the one in Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
That being said, I don't think either one of you guys is probably going to pick Leto. So, Matt, I think it's your turn to go first. So, what do you got?
Yeah. Gosh, this is really hard because I've ping-ponged back and forth between Jack and Heath.
I haven't.
For me, it's Heath. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind. It's so close again, kind of similar to Catwoman. But again, when I look at Heath Ledger's performance in Dark Knight, there's nothing else that rivals it. I'm just replaying some of the scenes of my mind right now. Some of the things his dialogue is easily memorable. His mannerisms, the way he rules Gotham with the chaos that he causes. Is just I remember watching that movie in the theater going like, A, who is this guy? Because I didn't know it was Ledger. Mm-hmm. And B, how do we stop him? Because he's running amok. It just goes to show the character development of what he did in that entire arc of that movie. It's Heath Ledger. It is so close with Jack. Jack did a great job with the Joker. I'm not discounting that. But Heath is my man. Heath's my man, and I'll die on that hill.
All right, now based on what we talked about in pre-production, I'm expecting an interesting answer out of Mr. Tracy. So, John, what do you got?
It's not going to be that interesting because thinking about it longer, I love every version.
Yeah.
As you can tell behind me, I love every version of the Joker. There's not one Joker. He's my favorite villain of everything.
Yeah.
Like just my favorite. I love that. The more I thought, I've seen Dark Knight probably over 700 times. I'm not joking. Like,
I wouldn't doubt it. I probably have to.
Going to bed for many years, I watched that movie. Just when Matt was like thinking about it, I'm like, come on, dude. When the batteries didn't work, when he tried to blow up the hospital, when he slides down the money, and lights it on fire, like he
all you care about is money.
When he puts the pencil in the dude's eye at the table, like he was everything we ever wanted in a Joker villain. I've gotten into the comic books and the show Gotham. Joker is portrayed in so many ways. Mm-hmm. It's just Heath is the antithesis of what they're doing now.
Yeah.
And he's the absolute point of how they became. Because if you look at how Joker was in the 60s and Jack's portrayal, it almost is a peak at Heath. And you're seeing the portrayal kind of level out now of they've figured it out throughout everybody.
Yeah.
But I think it's very, very important. Heath's performance is probably the most important Joker.
Yeah. That's a great point.
I'm going to agree with both of you. Jack, I agree with Matt. Jack's performance was fantastic.
Great.
I think
wouldn't hit a guy with glasses, would you?
Great.
Yeah.
Like literal great.
Yeah.
Wait, what's his line? What's the line that always gets me with him is we've got a flying mouse to kill and I want to clean my claws.
He had so many, delivered them so perfectly.
Oh yeah.
But I think that's what led Heath Ledger to take it to another
level. I think you're right. I think it starts with Caesar, builds with Jack, and then you have Heath.
That's why I go with Heath, is because Jack's was so great.
Yeah.
He had to follow it.
Yes. Yeah. And he did.
He not only and he did. And he did something different.
Yes.
And that's, I think, what made that role so special.
No doubt. Yeah.
You've got to follow Jack Nicholson, which is hard enough, but you did it without being Jack Nicholson.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
You made it your own character.
He became a generation's Joker. Is
He really
really
did. Yeah.
Jack did the same thing, but he did it again.
Well, and think about it, guys. Like entering the Dark Knight, right? When you watch it for the first time, we don't have that. The hindsight is 2020, of course. But when you walk into that movie theater, first time you're seeing Dark Knight, you know, okay, there's going to be a new Joker. Can he match up to Jack? Because the level was Jack Nicholson was right here.
That was always the thought, because we hadn't seen Joker in many years on the big screen.
Yep.
And I just think
blows him out of the, I mean, he blew him out of the water.
He knocked it out of the park. He really did.
He really did. Yeah.
To his demise, which is crazy. No. You know, dying shortly after.
Yeah.
It's nuts, but maybe that was his stamp on the world. Maybe being a method actor like he was, maybe that was the role he was destined to play. And
John, it was also the greatest what if in the entire Batman trilogy, because if he's back for that third, no,
absolutely. But what I can say as a method actor, and this being the greatest performance ever, fucking good on you, bro. You knocked it out of the park, man.
Yeah.
You did things that we didn't think were possible.
Yeah.
Heath Ledger deserves all of that and more.
Yeah, no doubt.
What a phenomenal performance.
No doubt. Yeah.
I do want to give special shout to Mark Hamill, who also does an amazing job.
We grew up with him. Most of our life.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been doing Joker for what, 20 years?
Easily 20 years.
For most of our life, he was the Cartoon Network, the comic book Batman.
The WB at 4:30, every night, every afternoon at 4:30, sit down and watch Batman. And he's there.
Phenomenal. I remember a documentary done, like, telling this was like in the mid 90s. They did a documentary and they were interviewing voice actors, and Mark Hamill, like, it was the first time anybody knew Mark Hamill was doing this. And he has a cigar in his hand and he does a Joker line with the cigar in his hand. And it was like, oh man, he does the work that dude puts in. Like, he went from just Mark Hamill, like Star Wars Mark Hamill, like talking as a very monotone man, right? Very quiet. And he puts a cigar and he does a little clip from the Joker thing. And it was like, wow.
I know people who pan him for his Luke Skywalker acting, but at the same time have to admit, for the Joker, he does an amazing job.
If you're not looking at Mark Hamill, is probably one of the best Jokers and one of the best voice actors on the planet. You don't know anything about film. Like, you just don't.
He also did Rocksteady. You also partnered with Rocksteady Studios to, when they were doing the Batman Arkham Asylum series, basically. Batman Arkham Asylum did Batman Arkham City. And really, when they did the trilogy, when they did the third, I think it was Batman Arkham Knight, the Joker wasn't supposed to be in it, but they brought him back.
You have to, Mark Hamill's just,
and it really got panned, unfortunately, because it was like, well, okay, they killed the Joker. Spoiler alert, sorry. They killed the Joker in Batman Arkham City, which was a bold decision. So, okay, you remove him from the equation, but everybody knows they want him all back, and he comes back in like kind of a Joker hallucination scene, and it's like, oh, they didn't get rid of him, and it was a disappointment, unfortunately, in the video game community. But again, just goes to show the greatness of Mark Hamill doing that, because it's
and just to, again, for anyone who joins us late, although I don't know why you would join us late on a podcast, rewind it at any time. The reason Joaquin Phoenix does not appear on this list is because there was no Batman in the movie Joker. So
it was just Joker. Wasn't a bad performance.
No, it was a good performance.
It wasn't bad. Also, Jared Leto, that wasn't a bad performance either.
No.
Not my favorite, but it wasn't a bad performance. Like, he was believable.
Yeah.
The quote about the reach around I could live without, but
but I mean,
the part where he
says, the guy that has a Dick Rocket T-shirt at Two Noobs Talking.
But the part where he kind of taunts Batman over the killing of Robin, I thought was wow, kind of that's
always my Achilles heel in Batman storytelling, in all Batman storytelling. Like, when Robin appears, it just pisses me off, because I was a very young lad when Robin died, and I'm like, fucking kid alone, dude. he did his due diligence
Mhm.
for creative writing
Yeah.
when, Batman like that's the greatest comic book scene ever
Yeah.
where he's carrying him and he's dead. And it
Yeah.
always made me mad when they brought him back. I'm like,
Back.
fucking leave it be, dude.
Well, just the look in Leto's eyes when he's like, yeah, well, we can talk about how you sent a boy wonder to do a man's job. It's like, whoa.
But he probably got that from Jack's work and Leto's work where nothing was off limits.
And Ledger's work. Too.
Villains later on in those movies didn't pull punches with Batman. They told him the truth.
Well,
Yeah, Ledger's work too.
Yeah.
But I also enjoyed Batman's response, which was, he's like, well, when Harley Quinn was in my arms dying, she made me promise that when I kill you, and I will fucking kill you, you die slow.
But that's a great Batman moment.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, getting back to Batman himself. So we're in the second to last category. This is Best Batman.
Ooh. Okay.
And because we had to exclude the Schumacher films, this was kind of a self-filling list.
Yes.
So again, in chronological order, we have number 1, Adam West from 66. Number 2, Michael Keaton from Batman 89. Number 3 is Kevin Conroy from Mask of the Phantasm and also the animated series. Number 4, Christian Bale from the Nolan trilogy, and number 5 is Batfleck. So I think, John, I go to you first.
It's not going to be Ben.
I had to have 5.
Nice try, right?
Ben
I thought he did an okay job.
Nice try. Yeah.
It wasn't. It took me a really long time to watch that movie. I'm just saying, it took me a really long time. I saw it on an airplane, but the airplane ride was a little short, so then I had to go back and watch it. So I had to watch it 3 or 4 times till I completed it, and Ben Affleck did it. He was. I was like, I wasn't blown away by Ben Affleck by any means.
No, he didn't blow me away, but I thought he was fine. The story isn't really about Batman; it's more Superman. So I thought he was fine.
Yep.
But
close enough.
So,
thanks, Ben.
But
I like you in Chasing Amy way better. Man, there's Michael Keaton, who is the antithesis. Adam West is.
You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
He's okay. So Michael Keaton's how we view it.
The template.
Yeah, he's the template. But Adam West is the reason we liked it.
Okay.
And I don't know if Christian Bale beats it.
Okay.
So I go with Michael Keaton because it's how I see Batman.
Yeah.
And he's the closest to Adam West.
Okay.
So I'm going with Michael Keaton.
Okay.
All right, Matt.
Yeah, this is hard. I love Bale. Particularly in Batman Begins, I thought he knocked it out of the park. And again, I keep thinking about first reaction when I saw that movie and Bale was placed in that role, and he did a phenomenal job. As Batman.
Agreed.
I look at Keaton in '89. I remember the controversy when he was selected. When the rumors were coming out that he was going to be the Bat, and everyone was like, he was a drama actor back then, and everybody was like,
comedy actually,
and a comedy, he was Beetlejuice or whatever. But it was like, how could they put him?
Films.
Yeah,
in around that time, that might be better than his performance.
And I'm thinking, like, this is going to surprise. I was thinking a little bit of Bale, but I agree with John. I think Michael Keaton is probably the best Batman. He is the template. The guy that basically, when you think Batman in the beginning, you go to the '89 movie, that's your starting point. Because everything at that point, and West did a phenomenal job too, no question, back in '66. But when '89 came out, that movie was gold, absolute gold when that came out. And Keaton was the forerunner behind it. A lot of controversy with him, but he pulled it off, and he pulled it off tremendously with Jack. And so I'm going to go with Keaton.
I'm going to agree with both of you, and I don't think it's close.
Mm.
No,
I
he's the template. I really do.
I think Michael Keaton.
Kevin Conroy did a great job too.
Absolutely. Kevin Conroy was fantastic.
Yeah.
But to me, Michael Keaton.
Bale was good at times. Bale was if we were to argue Batman to Bruce Wayne, I might argue that Bale's a better Bruce Wayne.
I would agree with that.
But I don't argue that he's a better Batman.
I would agree with that. Yeah. I would agree. He's probably the better Bruce Wayne than.
Yeah, Michael Keaton's a better Batman than Bale, but Bale might have been the better Bruce Wayne.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I would agree with that. Yeah. Yeah.
And that might be where the conflict comes in because he plays a hell of a Bruce Wayne. Bale does.
Oh yeah.
I don't think Keaton played like the snarky rich guy, but Bale played the real
the billionaire.
Yeah, the billionaire, like taking a bath in the restaurant that he just bought. You know what I mean? Like, he did really billionaire shit.
You see him coming in with the helicopter with 2 supermodels. Come on, I mean
that was real billionaire shit. I mean, that he didn't play the Batman the way.
Yeah.
I just wanted to kind of put that because it's not that we're just strictly talking about in the suit.
Yeah.
Well, the good news is we will see him in the suit again in the Flash movie. So
good.
There you
absolutely go. Looking forward to that.
That makes me absolutely happy.
But Michael Keaton, best Batman.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Steve, run you real quick. Why do you said hands down?
Yeah,
that's the best Batman. Elaborate more on that real quick.
To me, his performance as the Batman, Bale. I liked Bale. But his Batman was very growly.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just part of the development process. But Keaton's Batman was very understated. He always seemed to be under control.
I'm Batman.
I mean, even when he did that, it was just, I'm Batman. It wasn't, I'm Batman.
He wasn't a recluse because Batman is supposed to be under control at all times.
Right. And I think he was. And I think he even when he's battling guys, he gets punched by that big guy in Batman Returns and then he punches him in the stomach. And the guy looks down, there's a bomb, and he's just like, yeah. And that's it. He's the closest you ever see him to kind of like being out of control is in Batman Returns when he's trying to punch the bat to get the Batmobile down to that slim thing to fit through the hole in the wall, and it's not working, and he's like, okay, now I'm getting nervous. But then it finally works. Like that's the closest to out of control you see him.
Yeah.
And his Batman is very understated, very in control, and he knows what he's doing.
Yeah. That's great. That pushes it over the top. Yep. Absolutely. There you go.
All right, cool. So now we're at the coup de grace, the best Batman film.
Yeah.
And again, in chronological order, we have Batman 66.
Yep.
Batman 89. We have the animated Mask of the Phantasm, The Dark Knight, and then Lego Batman. Which it was good. Absolutely.
Yeah.
The scene where he's watching Jerry Maguire and he bursts out laughing when he says you completely one of the big highlights of any Batman film.
There you go.
Matt, who you got? Best picture.
Dark Knight, 100%. Hands down, no question. Batman 89 was great. One of the all-time greats. I put it in the Mount Rushmore for sure for me as one of my top 4 or 5 movies of all time. Dark Knight is it's Saving Private Ryan and it's The Dark Knight. That's 1-2 for me. And
nice.
Just really, it's just the entire movie, the way it was written, Ledger's performance, Bale, the love triangle that you got going on with him and Aaron Eckhart and and Maggie Gyllenhaal and that whole dynamic interplaying, and then it's phenomenal. It's the greatest movie, one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. Best superhero movie I've ever seen, period. It's hands down, Dark Knight, no question.
All right, John.
I have to agree, and the only reason I agree is the Joker performance I thought was so big, and the Batman wasn't as bad as it should have been to make it the same. Like it felt like they were equals. Yeah. And that's why I like it so much, that they were equals and they were fighting. I always felt that Jack kind of had more control than Michael Keaton's Batman, and same thing with the 66 Batman. There were so many villains in there. Joker wasn't really. It was a litany of people. So,
ow! Woof! Bam!
Someone was gonna screw Batman eventually. Because there's like 800 of you. Lego Batman was hilarious. Enjoyed Lego Batman, but I have to go Dark Knight, just because there were more than one character that pulled the movie.
Yeah.
It was a bunch of good characters that were able to support those two to put on such a great movie, including Alfred, including Commissioner Gordon.
His whole story.
Even the guys in the jail.
Yeah.
Put the bomb in the dude. Like they did a very good job of the entire movie. They had a lot of supporting actors that made it a great movie that I don't think 89 had. I think it was a lot of Batman, Joker, Catwoman. You know what I mean? Like they were introducing. They were kind of playing. They were good characters, but I think they buttoned it up.
Well, and that's the thing. I think that entire movie was also very well written from the start to finish. With Batman '89, I'm talking about. And again, it's like the Joker introducing chaos into Gotham City. I think the one thing that was different was that Jack's Joker was more of a practical Joker, as opposed to Ledger's Joker that was a terrorist.
Yeah.
Like a legit terrorist, and really bringing Gotham to his knees. Whereas Jack was like, he's releasing poison gas onto the city. It's like, okay, yeah, that's terrorism, but that's also like, it's also comical, in the Joker's like mind as well. It's like, it's really funny and all that kind of stuff. But Ledger, I think, just pushes it. So I could go on and on about that, but Ledger's Joker is just so much. Yeah.
Well, so this is where I'm going to start disagreeing with both of you guys.
I love it. Yeah.
Batman '89 is not just my favorite Batman; it is my favorite movie of all time.
Oh, wow.
Oh, look at that! Good for you. Yeah.
Just the actors, I thought were all terrific. Keaton, Nicholson, Basinger, Billy D. Williams was awesome in that movie.
You're talking about an elite cast of actors in that
Absolutely.
movie.
Yeah, in that time. Jack Palance was in that movie, and Jack Palance was one of the greatest actors back in the day.
Oh yeah.
I even loved Bob, man. Bob was awesome.
He was.
Bob
was great.
A guy. Great line.
And it was, so you had great performances. It was well written. I loved the look of it.
Yes.
The look of it to me.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't tell if this was in like the 30s or present day, because everybody's walking around with fedoras and trench coats.
Great point.
And the building architecture was so amazing. It was
very gothic. Yeah.
Very gothic, very dark. The cathedral was fantastic.
Yeah. And then not only that, but the modeling that they did on that movie. I mean, you gotta have to get it. I'm gonna throw it up there. We'll link it to in our episode here. Adam Savage Tested has a great thing on the Batwing. I'll throw that up there in the card in the upper right corner of the screen. Fantastic modeling.
That's another thing. I mean, I didn't put these categories in. Best Batmobile. To me, by far.
100%. Are you kidding me? Yeah.
No,
that's the greatest car ever. Yeah.
There's
that's like hands down. Yeah.
To that. Yeah. The way it opened and the way he got in.
Oh yeah.
They totally forgot to put the doors on the car, and they think like, wait a minute. That's exactly what they did. They were molding the whole thing, and they were like, oh wait a minute, we got to get him out of the car. How are we going to do that?
It's got to open, and he's got to jump in.
They have the vine, and they with a hydraulic lift.
By the way,
are you kidding me?
to the 66 Batmobile because that was cool too.
Oh, absolutely.
yeah,
With the
it was
phone?
cool.
Are you kidding me? Come on.
Yeah. But, all right, so 89 had the best Batmobile. It had the Batwing, which was the best aerial vehicle.
Oh, no question.
It was the introduction to the gun that got him up places. We didn't know that about Batman other than the comic books. So when he shot the thing up and he went, it was definitely.
You weigh a little more than 108. Yep.
Yeah. We expected that out of Christian Bale. We didn't expect that out of Batman.
Right. The music was absolutely phenomenal
Great
for that.
score. Danny Elfman was a fantastic composer. Yeah.
Absolutely the best score
Yep.
for a Batman film, hands down.
Yep.
Up until recently, I probably would have put that as my best score, but I think Man of Steel now takes over for me. But the Batman 89 score was phenomenal. I think everything in that movie just came together perfectly. And it was, you know, John talks about the Adam West Batman was the first one we ever saw.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This was so different from the Adam West Batman.
What a change.
It just blew me away.
Yeah.
You know, the difference between the Adam West Batman and Batman 89, I think, was so much more than the Nolan trilogy to the Batman 89. Because they're both dark.
Yeah. It was the foundation.
It was the largest leap from the comic books and the last movie that we had ever seen, because it wasn't the Dark Knight when that came out in the comic books later on. That wasn't I think that was after or prior to the 89 series. Like it was in around that time, but that wasn't what they went for.
No,
they went for more of a theatrical Batman
and a grittier one. And really, it started
one in the same kind of timeline that they were using the original Batman, which I thought they did a really good job.
Yeah,
the Christopher Nolan Batman is kind of off the beaten path of Batman.
Yeah,
it is, but it is a more
I liked about it because it wasn't straight. If Christian Bale played Batman the way Michael Keaton played Batman, it would have been a failure. The same thing if Heath Ledger played Joker like Jack, it would have been a failure. They can't meet up to that.
Yeah. And I think that was really the foundation of Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns. That graphic novel came out in the mid 80s. Really set the foundation for the Batman 89 movie. You think about that, comparing, because you're right, John, up to that point, everything was very colorful in Gotham.
Yes.
Everything was very colorful. And then all of a sudden, you've got a more grittier version with Frank Miller's graphic novel that comes out. And it's a great one. It's one of the greatest ever stories ever told in terms of comic books. But then we transitioned that to Batman 89, and that blew us all out of the water. I think all three of us would be like, oh yeah, I mean, God, that's like, when that came out, it was like, you're in the movie theater every day, shut up and take my money. You know, it's like, you just want to watch that.
We're all back to our teen years, you know, our preteen years.
And then you go into like,
coming out, we were all popping on that. Like, it's still all encompassing in our lives now.
Is, yeah.
Like, very important.
And Nolan knew, and I think to Nolan's credit, he knew that was still happening. That everybody now, it was like, okay, the reset button's been pressed. Batman's no longer campy. It is a grittier version of Batman who's taking on real life challenges, real life roles, whatever the case may be. And then all of a sudden, he comes out with his beautiful trilogy after the last two movies were, let's just say it, utterly trash.
Well, that's what happened. Burton took it in the direction that I think it needed to go.
Yes.
And then Schumacher started going backwards.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
He had a dark Gotham and he threw a 60s version on top of that. It's like, no.
When it started to become a clown college, no pun necessary of Joker in the first one, you were all over the place with your villains.
Yep.
They weren't very interesting. And maybe that's why Nolan, you know, some people think Nolan's was better because it got away from that. But to Steve's point, I have no issue with him saying anything that he just said about. I well spoken. Like I feel the exact same way.
Yeah.
I will tell you this: I don't think you have anywhere near the level of interest in superhero movies that exists now.
If it wasn't,
you know, whether it be DC movies or Marvel Cinematic Universe, whatever. without
right.
Batman 89.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. That was
the
that
biggest
was the start.
foundational, superhero movie of all time. No question.
That was a huge start to what they're doing now.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
That was
that's
great.
our show.
Take the
And
bow
I
tie
don't
off.
know,
Jeez.
I am out of here.
That was awesome. What a great way to
That
end
was,
episode
that was
73.
Steve actually saying that we tie him down for the episode because he doesn't want to.
No, I was doing my Dennis Miller sign off from Saturday Night Live.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, there you go. Well, gents, thanks again. That was awesome. What a great way to end episode 73. It's on to 74. Let's hit them up with our socials, guys. John, where can people find us real quick?
Everywhere but nowhere. We're on Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram for short videos that lead us to...
That's our main YouTube channel, the Two Noobs Talking Podcast. You can like, share, subscribe, and get notified when our videos drop on YouTube. And on the audio versions, Mr. Steve.
We are proudly
What too?
proudly hosted by the Bat Podbean.
There you go.
Which gets us out onto the Bat Apple Podcast, the Bat Google Podcast, Bat iHeartRadio, Bat Spotify. We're on Bat Amazon Music.
And if we could get bat wings on all these, while Steve is saying, then we will.
God, so much editing. Oh my gosh. But we'll figure it out.
My Bat Shark Repellent Spray. No.
There you go. Hey, our Bat show notes can be found at twonoobstalking.wordpress.com. You can go there with the links to all of our articles, is what I'm trying to say. And of course, any of our videos, we'll throw them on there. And you can like and sign up to get the show notes from there. So my thanks to Steve. My thanks to John for another great episode of Two Noobs Talking. Until then, folks, talk to you all next week. And take care.
If you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed. If you do read it, you're misinformed. That's a great question. What is the long-term effect of too much information? One of the effects is the need to be first, not even to be true anymore.